Guess what? The Panthers still suck. Welcome back to Only Talk Sports. So we talk sports every single day, or at least we try to. I'm Roche Jeffrey. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content, and hit that notification bell so you never miss our video. Coming into the 2024 NFL season, nobody was expecting the Carolina Panthers to have all that good of a season. But there were some people that thought the Panthers could be a little bit better.
Flashback.
People are a little bit higher on the Panthers. Nobody's expecting them to make the playoffs, but people think they might be able to win 5 or 6 games this year instead of only being able to win 2 like they did last year.
End of flashback.
But that is definitely not the case, because the Carolina Panthers, it looks like they're going to have yet another awful season in the NFL after having a 2-15 season to start off Bryce Young's tenure at the Carolina Panthers. Maybe people thought they could win 4, 5, or 6 games in 2024. That would have been an improvement. But in week 1, they got absolutely obliterated 47-10 by the New Orleans Saints. We're not talking about the Kansas City Chiefs, the Baltimore Ravens, or any of the other top teams in the NFL. We're talking about the New Orleans Saints. And I'm not saying the Saints are a bad team. They're a team that might make the NFL playoffs this year. They look definitely better than they did last year, but it's a 1-week sample size against the Carolina Panthers, so maybe they aren't this good. And I know that you could say it's week 1 overreactions. A lot of people say it's 1 week. Give it time. The Panthers could get better. I really don't think so. I've been on record saying that I think David Tepper is one of the worst owners in the NFL, probably the worst owner in the NFL, now that Dan Snyder is no longer at the Washington Commanders. He absolutely sucks. Every move that he has made since he has become the Carolina Panthers owner has been bad. I love Bryce Young. He was the Alabama Crimson Tide quarterback after all, but Bryce Young was not a good draft decision by the Panthers. I said they needed to go with C.J. Stroud, but C.J. Stroud's lucky that he did not get drafted by the Panthers. He's at the Texans. He's doing great over there. He doesn't have to deal with this horrible football team and getting sacked 5 times per game like Bryce Young has to deal with. Because a lot of people say, well, Bryce Young, he's getting sacked because he doesn't know how to escape pressure. The Panthers do not give him any time to throw the football. 90% of the time, he has no time to throw back there. He gets sacked immediately. Once the ball is snapped, the defense is all over the place. They're running over the Panthers' offensive linemen, and they did not address that problem. The Panthers have not helped the offensive line in any way, shape, or form. So even if C.J. Stroud was at the Panthers, he'd still be struggling. He would be getting beat up. So he's lucky that the Texans are the ones that ended up drafting him. But Bryce Young, yes, he's undersized, and he would have to be on a perfect offense with a great offensive line and great weapons to have success in the NFL. I think that he possibly could, but it's not with the Carolina Panthers. So it was dumb for David Tepper to draft a guy that would have no chances to succeed for the organization because the O-line's so bad, and you don't give him any weapons, and plus you traded all that you did to get Bryce Young in the first place. You gave the Chicago Bears everything to succeed. DJ Moore, the number 8 draft pick, a couple other players. It all worked out for the Chicago Bears in the end. The Panthers were dumb to do all of that to get the number 1 pick. And then when you look at a guy like Brian Burns, they traded Brian Burns, one of their best defensive players, probably their best defensive player, and Carolina gets nothing in return for him. People were asking for like a 1st or 2nd round pick for the guy, and they end up trading him for barely anything. So that's the Carolina Panthers right now. They're basically the new Denver Broncos. Every single move that they make is the wrong move, or they end up making a worse move than what they could have made basically a year ago. So the Carolina Panthers, them having such poor seasons these past few years is not a surprise in any way, shape, or form. It all starts at the top. It's all because of David Tepper. You have to have good owners. You have to have good coaches. You have to have good players. That is how you have a good organization. If you don't have a good owner, but you got good coaches and you got good players, you're not going to win. And it goes the same way if you got a good owner and players, but not good coaches. Everything has to be good. If your players are bad, it doesn't matter how good your coaches are, you're not going to win. It all has to have synergy. All 3 of those things have to be in order. They have to be doing well. And if you don't have that, then the Panthers or the Broncos or any football team for that matter are never going to win. Right now, the Panthers do not have a good owner. He's horrible, and their players aren't all that good either. And the good players they do have, they end up getting rid of them for nothing, and they're not getting anything in return. And the Carolina Panthers coaches, I don't even know what to make of them because they don't even stick around long enough to be able to tell if they're any good, and there aren't any good players on the team at their disposal to even help them have a chance. Matt Rule, I think, is a solid coach, but he got fired after 3 years. Frank Reich was only given 11 games, and now Dave Canellis is in a terrible situation. situation. He's probably not going to last. And you wonder why a guy like Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions, will never go to the Carolina Panthers because the situation is just too bad to even risk taking the job. And the Broncos, when they made that Russell Wilson trade, that showed you that their leadership is awful because they traded all of that to the Seahawks to get Russell Wilson, and he wasn't even nowhere near the prime of his career anymore. So that was a bad move. And that's why the Broncos haven't made the playoffs in 9 years. And now the Panthers haven't made the playoffs in 7 years. It's been since 2017 in the Cam Newton era when he was starting to trail downwards a bit. That was the last season the Panthers made the NFL playoffs. It's been almost a decade. And Carolina, their fans still support the team fairly well. They support the team a whole lot more than they support the Carolina Hurricanes in the National Hockey League, even though the Carolina Hurricanes are a much better team right now. I almost would be more interested in them than the Panthers because of how bad the Panthers are. I want the Panthers to be good. It sucks that they're bad, but it's all because of David Tepper. He does not know how to run an organization, and sometimes it almost feels like he's purposely sabotaging the team. They don't have a good tight end. No more Greg Olsen anymore. They have no good tight ends. Their wide receiver room, you had DJ Moore, you got rid of him. Now they basically just have Adam Thielen, Deontay Johnson, who they traded for, who's okay, and that's about it. They don't really have anything else. They don't have a running back like D'Angelo Williams or Jonathan Stewart anymore. Their running back room is mid. Bryce Young is trying his best, but he's too small really to be a quarterback in the NFL. He needs to be in a perfect system, which this offense isn't. And their defense was actually decent the past few years. Well, now the Panthers' defense sucks because they made Derek Carr look like Drew Brees out there, which that's a problem. Derek Carr, I've actually defended him throughout his career because a lot of people trash him unnecessarily, but he's actually a solid quarterback. He's not one of the best in the NFL, but he can't get the job done. But the Panthers made him look like Drew Brees, which is insane. He had a great game and had 3 touchdown passes, made no mistakes, and the running game for the Saints was on fire. The Saints are a solid team. I'm not saying that they're not, but the Saints were favored by 4 points. And I know in week 1, the spreads are a little bit lower because you don't know how teams are going to look. So the betting odds aren't going to have teams favored by a whole lot, but still, the Saints were not favored by a lot in this game. They were on their own field. And even last year, the Panthers were more competitive against the Saints. They got absolutely obliterated. And I don't think anybody had on their bingo card that the New Orleans Saints were going to have the most points scored in week 1 in the NFL this season. That's absolutely ridiculous. The Panthers, they still suck. And it looks like they're going to have a very long season in 2024, which is very unfortunate because even I thought that the Panthers would do a little bit better in 2024. I wasn't expecting them to have a great season. I thought maybe they'd win 5 games, but heck, 5 games at this point would look like a pipe dream because it looks like the Panthers might struggle to even win a game in 2024, and it could be the last season of Bryce Young. But knowing the Panthers, they'll end up making a poor decision in the future on a quarterback or getting other players through the draft. They'll end up trading a bunch of their better players away to get a player that isn't even that good. That's the David Tepper way. He doesn't know what he's doing, and maybe he thinks that Jack Plummer will save the day. I know that will make my buddy Austin happy, but I don't think Jack Plummer is going to be able to come in and fix this offense, but you never know at this point. It wouldn't surprise me, but the Panthers are a mess. They're probably going to be the worst team in the NFL in 2024, yet again like they were last year, and it's just very sad to see. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Like this video down below. Comment down below what you think about week 1 for the Carolina Panthers season and whether you think I'm overreacting and that it's just one game and the Panthers are going to improve, or whether you think that David Tepper's poor ownership of the team is going to end up leading the Panthers to another terrible season in the NFL. Follow me on Twitter as well. Link is in the description, and I'll see you next time.